so we're back here in file management. We've just downloaded some files that we'll use not just for today's demonstration, but many of them throughout the quarter. So we're scrolling back up in our GIS Basics workbook to the key question that we ended on. Let's see, I forgot to say we're going to keep file paths short to speed up analysis. We're going to start by looking at project files. And we're going to talk about them a little bit, and then we're going to open one up and take a look at it, all right? So Pro is going to organize your work into project files, and the abbreviation on this file is going to be APRX, okay? So if you see a file with the abbreviation or the extension APRX, that's what you're going to click on. Let's go ahead and go to the folder that we have for this class. I have way too many folders open because I was doing way too many disparate things, but I called mine GIS Basics demonstration files. So this is where you downloaded your stuff. And we're going to go ahead and open up the folder that we downloaded, and it should not be zipped up, so this is the one that you extracted. GIS Basics Section 2 map. Let's double click to open that, and the reason it is 2 folders deep is because it was zipped up, and whenever you compress a folder, it's going to put it in a new folder. So that's why if you compress a folder or you download something that I've compressed, it's going to have, you're going to have to click twice to get in there, or maybe 3 times. Apparently, I compressed this multiple times. You know what, to avoid any issues later on with just a really long file path, I'm going to right click and I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go back up here all the way to the root. I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste it. Alright. Okay. Alright, and this one says sections 1 and 2 because the interior folder had a slightly different name, and then I'm going to remove this one. And that's just a little bit of cleaning up to make sure I don't have a really long file path. And the reason that we got that longer path is because I'd zipped it up apparently a couple of times, and so it went in 2 extra folders instead of just 1 extra folder. And this is our section 2 map. There we go. Alright, now we open. Alright, I just paused there because I want to show the file extensions in this folder, and it's going to be a little bit different in Windows 11. So that was the pause there. So it says I'm supposed to go to View, Show, File Name Extensions. So I wanted to be able to show you the file extensions here, and if you want to see the file extensions, that's how you'll do it. You'll go up to View, Show, File Name Extensions. But what I wanted to show you here is inside of this folder, we'll talk a little bit more about how this structure is put together, but inside this folder we've got a few different things, and I will say that these are created when you create a new project. We'll look at that in a little more detail in our notes. But here I'm looking for my APRX file is my project file, and that's right here, GIS Basics. It says section 1 and 2. We're just using it for 2, APRX. And then there's a few other files. So you've got a backup, and this is going to capture work that is automatically saved while you do your work. It's important to note that Pro doesn't automatically save, like you can set the interval that it saves at, but it's not just a given. Like oftentimes when we work in the cloud, we never hit save because it's automatically saved. That doesn't happen with Pro. It's something you have to set. We have a geodatabase. We're going to talk about what this means. This is us in Windows File Explorer. This is what a geodatabase looks like in Windows File Explorer. We'll come back to this shortly. I know it's a geodatabase and not just a plain old folder because it has this extension GDB. I've got messages, an import log, and an index, and these are all going to collect information about what happens in my project while I'm working in it. So things that I've imported, the messages about those imports and their success are going to go in here. Geoprocessing messages, if I get an error message, I'll see it on the screen. We'll show you in a minute, and it'll also be stored here in this folder. and then an index folder that keeps track of everything. But this is kind of the key thing. This is my project file. This, you could get confused. You're like, just a second, is that my project file? It says APRX. It's just because it's exactly mirroring this name, but it's an HTML file. It's to view in a web page in a browser. And then this is my toolbox, my ArcGIS Pro toolbox. And if this project had a series of tools that I'd built and saved for it, like analysis tools, they would go there in this toolbox ATBX. But where the rubber hits the road for us and getting to work is this APRX, this project file. And if you don't have your file extensions enabled, like you haven't viewed them, you can tell your APRX file because it kind of looks like a briefcase that's maybe holding a map. I think it's supposed to look like a big portfolio that you're carrying maps around in. So, good job, graphic designers. And we're going to open it just by double-clicking. And, don't like triple click or quadruple click or click and click and click because you don't see anything, because it often takes just a moment for the software to respond. So, it's doing our thing. And let's go back to, oh, no, there it is. We'll go back to our PDF in a minute. But I just wanted to just show you what an APRX file looks like in Windows Explorer. And then when you open it, this is something I've made for you. I'm expecting that we'll have some red exclamation marks and that sort of thing, but I just wanted to. Now, this is going to open up with the tools that I had open last time, and I was actually doing some fun things. I was doing some fun things in GIS before I came to do some lecturing. So yours may not look exactly like mine, but what we'll do is I want to go ahead and if it, no, I don't need to identify. If yours is similar to this where you've got some panes that are hidden over here, go ahead and click on the contents and then hit this little push pin, this little thumbtack, and that's going to hold the contents right now so we can kind of take a look at it. And then go ahead and click on the catalog and hit the push pin, and that's going to hold it to the other side of your map so you can see both of those. And then the last thing, if yours has kind of, it just shows the tabs up here to your ribbon, go ahead and click on here. Come on. Let's see. No. I minimized my ribbon. Oh, there we go. Maybe. Okay, I'm going to unminimize the ribbon. So to do that, so if your ribbon is minimized, it's going to be easier for us to just look at tools and stuff if it's not minimized. So we're going up here to this little down arrow, and we want to uncheck the minimize ribbon. So we don't want it minimized right now. If you want to minimize it again later, it's this arrow right here. So minimize my ribbon, unminimize it, maximize it. So then we can actually kind of look at some of the tools together that are available in the different tabs of the ribbon. All right. So we open that up. Now we just want to do something. We will, don't worry, but let's go back. We need to talk a little. All right. So that's an APRX file. It was that little briefcase, and we double-clicked and we opened it, and it's got some useful pieces to it. It's got the ribbon, and that's at the top of the pane, or top of your screen. Hopefully this doesn't just give me giant text. Top of screen, it's got tabs for different functions, and it contains tools to work with your map. Tools and settings to work with the map. Yay. Okay. So let's take a look at it since it's here. So here's my ribbon. The project side, we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about what you can do here in one of our next questions. But this is kind of where you deal with big things like saving in different places, opening different types of projects. Sometimes we'll deal with licensing or setting our options. We're going to do some things shortly that'll set up a default save location using options. But that's what projects. Then our map, this is the tab we're in most of the time, or much of the time, especially as we're just starting out. It lets us kind of explore the map, because we have a map up here in a map window. We can do things like set up bookmarks. You'll learn how to do that. Go to bookmarks. You can go to a latitude and longitude here. We're going to change the base map in a few minutes. You can add data to your map this way. That's one way with a button. You can also select features on your map. We don't have any features on the map right now. We're just showing kind of the United States. You can measure distances, locate things. Anyway, so that's map. We have the insert tab, and that lets us add new layouts and new maps. We're like, well, what does that mean? We'll talk about it more. We can do fun analysis things. We can view different pieces. We can edit pieces of our map. If we're dealing with like drone imagery, we can deal with imagery here. And then this is how we share our map or turn it into a PDF or print it out at the share tab. But what I wanted to, we're not going in depth at this moment. We're just pointing out that, hey, this is the ribbon, and these tabs take us to functions that we want to perform in the project. So that's that. Next thing, panes to work from. Yeah, so these are adjustable, hideable. New ones will open when you try something else. Okay, what do I mean by panes? Okay, let's look at our panes here. So the two basic panes, and this is the default for opening a new project. You're going to have your contents pane and your catalog pane, and then you've got your window here in the middle. I've got a map window, and then I also have a layout here. We'll talk about the difference between a map and a layout shortly, but this is a layout that I would print or output as a PDF. This is my map where really the work happens in the map. This is where I'm going to be spending most of my time working. So we've got our contents and our catalog. We're going to talk about navigating these a little bit more as we move on, but I want to show you a couple tricks. You've already kind of seen the pin option. If I want just more space in my window, I can pin my catalog, and it'll show up if I click on it, but otherwise it stays hidden. If I want it just to show all the time, I click that pin again. I can pin my contents. I can unpin it. I can also move these to different locations. I'm usually going to have them to the left and the right of my window. That's how I'm used to working. It's easiest for me. You may find that you want to move it, and if so, you grab at the top with your mouse, and I've just unhinged it. If I want to place it somewhere else, I'm going to do that. Like, say I wanted my contents at the top, I have to hold my mouse itself, the white part of the cursor, over this kind of button that'll show up, and now my contents is at the top. You can change the size of these if you hover just right, which, there we go. So I can move my contents around. I can also move my catalog around. I could move it somewhere over to this side, and then it's going to show up on this side. Now it's really big. That's unwieldy. I like mine over here to the left, so just little trick. I usually like mine over to the left. I often hide my catalog, pin it so that I have a little bit more working space. But the catalog and the other panes that you work with can be moved and docked in different locations. So, and you do that by grabbing with the mouse, so clicking and holding, and then dropping. Remember that your cursor has to actually be on top of the location you want to drop, and then you can change the size here. All right, so that's panes. So you'll have a couple useful panes that'll start when you open up, and then as you work in the map, there'll be other options for display. So, I'm not connected to that. We're going to deal with the red exclamation marks shortly, but not quite yet. All right, so, and then we've got, in our most common windows are going to be maps and layouts, and a map is just the geographic features that you are working with. Usually a base map, and the features you place on top of it. Also called a map window. So let's go take a peek at it. It's our map, and what I'd have you notice is that it's just geographic features here versus a layout, and it's in a big window, so we're taking up the middle of the display. And then a layout has geographic features within a map frame, but it also has other pieces with it. So this one has a north arrow, a scale, and I put some of the essential elements on it. So I've got who created the map, the coordinate system it's in, the sources for the map, and the current time. All right. And then we've got the map here in the middle, but a layout has other pieces you could print with it. This could have photographs on it. It could have like a paragraphs of text that kind of explain the map. So a layout is what you end up printing. You work in general in a map, and this is where you put your features on and you symbolize them, and then when you're ready to turn it into something that's like publishable, either to print it out, turn it into a PDF, something like that, you're going to go and you're going to create a layout. And you'll learn how to create those as we go, but I'm just kind of pointing out the features that you're going to be dealing with. So let's see here. So a layout is the map frame plus information that is needed to interpret the map. So that could be things like a legend. That goes in a layout. Legend. North arrow, author of the map, sources, coordinate system, scale. So all those things happen in the layout. Title, yeah. And oftentimes we'll put the date in there as well. Also photos, and explanatory text. All right, so the layout is where you're going to publish this to print or electronic media. All right. So that's what the layout is. And then you can see here, that looks a lot like what I've been showing you and what you've been able to click around in yourself. Open it up and play with it. So the APRX file, let's, I think we're gonna do this in the next part, but we'll talk a little bit about what a project file does, what it doesn't do, and then what should we do when we're opening up a brand new project. So that's next.